Hi everyone, for today's featured liner we're going to be looking at a ship that, thanks to the publication of a fantastic book about its fiery fate, awareness of it and its impact on the infant cruise industry is finally gaining traction. That ship is the Evangeline, which is more notoriously remembered as the Yarmouth Castle. This ship entered service in 1927 as the Evangeline. It was one of two sister ships, with its sister ship being called the Yarmouth, and both were operated by the Eastern Steamship Company. They were designed as ocean-going coastal passenger vessels that operated along the eastern seaboard of the United States. As new, the Evangeline's vital statistics were as follows. The ship weighed 5,043 gross tons, was 378 feet long, which equates to 115 meters, had a beam of 55 feet, which equates to 17 meters, and its two Parsons steam turbines could drive the ship at a decent speed of 18 knots. As built, the ship could accommodate 750 passengers with 141 crew. However, by the time it was operating as a cruise ship, that capacity had been massively reduced to just 365 passengers. The Evangeline was able to weather the Great Depression and also survive the Second World War, operating as a troop ship. However, this ship would not be able to survive the economic turmoil of a post-war United States. With changed economic conditions in the 1950s and with the virtual extinction of coastal passenger traffic, both this ship and its sister were sold to try a new life with some ambitious owners in the Caribbean as cruise ships. In the late 50s, early 1960s, the cruise industry was still in its infancy, and the Evangeline was certainly one of the first to begin cruising on a permanent basis, joining a fleet of other superannuated vessels, bearing in mind that the Evangeline was now entering its 30th year of existence. To make it more suitable for cruising, a white hull was painted, replacing its more wintry black. Part of the upper aft end of the ship was closed in, and a swimming pool was added to help with its tropical appeal. And the ship was given a brand new name, the Yarmouth Castle. Cruising out of Miami and Nassau, this ship eked out a decent existence for a couple of years. However, the realities of maintaining an aging ship, trying to hire crew with minimum standards, meant that it was a constant juggle between keeping the ship running and paying expensive costs. And as a result, and it would all come to a tragic head on the night of 12th of November 1965, with 376 passengers on board and 176 crew members. The Yarmouth Castle that night would burst into flames. Spark, a short circuit within a disused stateroom, would set off a tragic chain of events, through a combination of just the sheer fact that it was an old ship with lots of wood in its superstructure, an ill-equipped crew to handle emergency situations, as well as a captain who was not only improperly trained, but also just was not psychologically prepared to face the challenges that a disaster at sea is required. All of these factors combined, causing a terrible disaster in which 90 innocent people lost their lives. There were incredible acts of bravery, and at the same time there were incredible acts of questionable behavior. By the morning, the burning hulk of the Yarmouth Castle, completely charred and warped, rolled over and sank. And there are some incredible images of the water around the vessel steaming as that fire had raged to such an extent. The loss of this ship and those lives would lead to an extensive array of reforms to modernize the cruise ship industry, and it also meant the end of many other equally superannuated cruise vessels that should have been scrapped a long time ago. And all of this can be best appreciated in the book that I mentioned earlier. So if you want to learn more about this ship and about its terrible fate, you have one book to go to, and that is this one, Yarmouth Castle is Burning. I reviewed this book a few months ago, so for more information about the book specifically and how it deals with this disaster, please check out that review. If you are interested in learning more about Yarmouth Castle, its sister ship, and its company, the Eastern Steamship Lines, well then, check out Eastern Steamship by David Crockett and Edwin Dunbar. A fantastic company history with plenty of beautiful photos of all their ships, and with Evangeline and Yarmouth being major components of the fleet, they do take up quite a fair bit of the book. Another older book with some beautiful photos is The Nightboat by Hilton. So there are a few books out there to check out to learn more about this ship, and I know that there's at least one other video coming out in April 2026 that also will deal with this disaster. But in combination of all this and with the new book, I do hope that you will take the time to check out the story of this ship and learn about not only the tragedy, but also all the advances and the reforms that came out because of this disaster. So please, do check out the story of Evangeline and its fate as the Yarmouth Castle.